We are.
Yes. So one of the things I mentioned about unlocking the potential of food and not only using food for the, nourishment, but I'll ask you, kind of thinking about what are some reasons that you might eat? A lot of people answer that by saying, because I'm hungry, right? But there's so many other different reasons as to why you might be grabbing for food. Maybe you smell something that's really good and you get hungry, or you see food and you want to eat it. But we also eat in times of celebration when we come together with friends or with family. And, we know that a lot of people, they eat better, actually, when they're with their friends or their family. So kind of eating more in group settings. So people tend to eat more vegetables, more whole grains at these types of times. So kind of looking at this, and we did this specific recipe. I'll let Jeremy explain why.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I was fortunate. I grew up cooking a lot with my family, and so food, I didn't think I was going to have a job doing it, but I ended up working with food and teaching it and speaking about that passion. But a lot of it did come from cooking together and coming together. I mean, look at this class. This is a packed class. You're obviously not coming here just for us. It's about the food as well, right? So it's a big part of why people cook, why people eat. And when we develop these recipes, we're actually lucky right now. We have an amazing student from George Brown who's doing her internship with us, Diana. And so I wanted a recipe from her family, right? So she developed this recipe. This was from her mom and her grandmother. She was supposed to teach it today, but unfortunately had an appointment that she couldn't miss. And so unfortunately she can't be here. So she trusted me to teach it. I'm gonna completely butcher a lot of the terms here, but so be patient with me. But we're making Golabki. I don't know if anyone confirmed it in the audience, but we'll say yes, Golabki. All right.
Okay.
Which they're cabbage rolls, and these are Polish cabbage rolls. So this is something that her grandmother sort of taught her mom, and her mom taught her and her sister, and they kind of changed it a little bit along the way, as you do, right? And so we thought it'd be a great idea to teach it.
Yeah.
We wish Diana could teach it here. She'll be back to teach it, hopefully, for the
And one of the reasons I love the recipe is because you're getting, very often we talk about balancing your meal, balancing your plate, and really focusing on the color, getting protein, and high quality carbohydrates. So those things that are high in fiber. And actually, we think of the plate, it's like quarter of, or a half plate color, quarter protein, other quarter those carbs, but doesn't always make sense when you're putting it into a recipe. Mm-hmm. And I find that this one actually, it's a wrap, but you're getting all the stuff you need to balance your plate, balance your meal. So it doesn't matter if it's in a plate, it could be in a bowl, it could be in a wrap, it could be in a sandwich, or even in these rolled up cabbage rolls.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the first thing, the obvious place to start off with is the cabbage. It'd be weird if we wrapped it with something else, but we are using just a regular small green cabbage. And this is, I'm going to see if I can carry this over here. It's a little hot, but this is sort of the technique that Diana taught me yesterday, where they will boil the cabbage whole. And as the cabbage softens, so you remove the core. I don't know can you guys see the core? Mm-hmm. So you kind of cut out the core there, so it's a little bit easier. And as it boils, the leaves will just fall off, and they're a lot easier to remove that way, right? So, and they sort of separate a lot easier, and when they're soft, she did it much more gracefully, by the way. I'm trying to make do, but they're nice and soft, easier to roll, and they're tender, and they're really nice to cook. This is my fun. It's fun for everyone, but watching this cabbage boil sounds very boring. But this is what we're looking for, really nice, tender leaves.
And again, a vegetable that's high in fiber.
Yeah.
However, I will mention, for those who have digestive issues, so gas, bloating, even kind of those looser stools, cabbage is not the go-to vegetable for you, right? So just something to note, because it is more cruciferous. the types of fiber it has, it can make those symptoms worse.
Yeah, and the only other thing we want to do at this point is with some of the bigger leaves, they'll have a much thicker stem. So the other thing she did was just sort of trim just more of the thicker part away. And then that way it's just a lot easier to roll. You can even just chop this up and add it to your filling. Still really, really tasty. So you don't have to waste that. But for the filling, it could be anything, right? This is, again, where it's up to you. And even with her, she said traditionally it was like meat and rice, and there wasn't much veg intervals in it, right? But rice and meat, right? Yeah, exactly, yeah. But then everyone sort of changed it along the way. So for her and her sister, they told me that they liked more with the vegetables, more vegetables inside. So you can do whatever you like, and that's why it's a nice idea if you cooked some of those vegetables and you have them in a Tupperware, or even the grains. Like it doesn't even have to be rice. We cooked fado grain, and so we have some fado grain available. So we'll use some of that too.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's a really good way of when you're meal planning, right, to see where else you could add those things, especially the things that kind of take a little bit more time. Like as Jeremy mentioned, fado takes about 25 minutes. So, you could add it into a snack or a salad, but where else can you use it throughout the week in your recipes?
Yeah, absolutely. So already 2 recipes with the fado. And for the vegetables, it's just some carrots, some onions, some garlic, and some mushrooms. And again, this is the version that she does. But I mean, it's just a perfect little device, perfect little package that you can put really whatever you want in there.
And I guess traditionally it is made with white rice, right?
Yeah. Well, for her, that's what she was saying, white rice. But
and this is nice because you're adding a little bit more of those whole grains in. And again, like if you don't like whole grains, do it slowly, right? You don't have to completely go from one to the next.
Yeah.
But just kind of combining the two is a nice way to just add in a little bit more whole grain to the diet, because that's increasing the fiber and you're adding in some of those nutrients like folate and vitamin E that are actually removed in the process for refining to get white rice, for example.
Okay, are you ready to roll?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That was not confident, but...
Yeah, here we go.
All right, so essentially what we do
teach me.
is take some of the filling, we're going to put it inside, and maybe a bigger spoon would have been quicker, but there we go.
Okay, fun.
And I guess it depends on the leaf. So I have in there maybe about a 1/4 cup of the filling, but you're going to get down to a much smaller and smaller leaf. So you just want to fill it until you can close it, but it's not like bursting out of the seams and it's not too empty, right? So if you have to make a couple and then just readjust, maybe add more, take some out, just do that with the first few. And the way she taught me was the first part closest to you in, then the ends over top, and then you continue to roll like that. Let's see how Steph does.
Okay, well, we need a...
No pressure.
No pressure.
The back, roll over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it because the stem wasn't cut?
Yeah, sure.
Properly.
The stem. It was the stem. And that's it. And then we're going to put it into a baking dish. So we did a few here. And the bottom, any liquid, so a lot of times you see tomato sauce or like a tomato puree on the bottom. She says with her family, they usually use just like stock or even just like water. And they'll have like the tomato sauce on the side. So whatever you want to put on the bottom. I just had just a little bit of stock in here. So just a little bit on the bottom.
So these are ones that are just kind of or plant-based, right?
These are plant-based, yeah. But we also made ones with ground chicken inside as well. So like just cooked ground chicken. Or again, traditionally it'd be probably beef or pork inside. If you want to add chickpeas, I guess you can
tofu.
switch it up.
Yeah. So again, you're getting those vegetables, so the color part, you're getting your protein, if you were to add kind of more of the ground chicken.
Yeah.
And then you have your whole grains with the farro.
Absolutely. So into your baking dish, I line mine with parchment, just because I line everything with parchment, because it protects the pan. But otherwise, any of the leftover, any extra leaves, what she showed me is you just put them on top, and that just sort of adds this extra layer of protection and it sort of helps all like the juices and all the flavors
stay in.
steam and sort of stay inside, right? And that's it, it's ready to go. I'm gonna just put the extra parchment, wrap it, and then you can wrap it with some foil, or if you have a lid, anything on top, just to trap in that moisture, and then that's gonna go into the oven, 350 degrees for about an hour, okay?
And so, of course, might take a little bit more time, you know, because you do have to roll each one. But again, if you're, you know, surrounded by friends or family and making it kind of that more of a community experience, if time allows, that would be great. And, you know, there's also that social aspect of getting people involved in the cooking process that allows for more enjoyment and mindfulness as well.
Okay. So much bigger tray.
Wow.
And this is what. So you get a little bit of the browning, but it's on those like layers that were used to sort of protect.
It smells delicious.
Yeah. The top. And so I'll plate one. And the way, again, Diana told me is that they'll serve maybe a little tomato sauce on the side or on the bottom. So I'll put maybe a little bit on the bottom. And take one of the cabbage rolls on top. And again, this, I mean, you can make a bunch of these, she said, and you freeze them.
Yeah.
Freeze them after, and that way you have them ready to go. Really, really simple. And I mean, that's it, like that. But like I said, I mean, some of those things you can do ahead of time, even if you had some of that parsley. I'm getting a shake of no, so maybe I won't do the parsley, but we'll do some fresh parsley on top. There you go.
So how would you store them? Like in a Tupperware? Would you saran wrap?
So if you're freezing them, what I would do is probably use a freezer bag.
Gotcha.
Try to get as many in there as possible. The less oxygen that has access to it, the longer it's gonna store it. If you have a vacuum sealer, that would probably be even the best way. But even just like a vac bag, put them in there, roll them up in the freezer, and freeze them. Or you can probably freeze them individually, like on a tray, for an hour until they're solid, and then put them in the vac. That way you can just take them out one at a time or two at a time, so that they don't all stick together. That's it. Those are the Golabki. Thank you, Diana, and her family. Hopefully they're watching. Awesome.
Thank you.